So I have no idea why, but the stupid app was not recording my audio, and I didn't feel like dealing with it at school. So I'm going to re-record. This is fun. So this is Carrie Lee, and I am English high school, mostly ninth graders, English honors. I'm doing a dual track endorsement, but I'm doing only teaching in English at this time. Online learning. Online learning. So we had about a 2-week delay where we were initially out, and then about 2 weeks later, we started the online journey. Now, at that time, of course, I wasn't student teaching yet. I hadn't even been admitted to the program since that was last spring. But my kids were in this district, so I can tell you that we struggled. We struggled hard. Now, we already had Chromebooks issued to everyone in our district. It was automatically issued to elementary students, middle school students, and high school students. Our elementary students didn't usually bring them home, so we had to go pick them up from the school at a designated fun little roundabout drive-through. Some of our secondary classrooms already used Canvas, so that was handy. We used Skyward district-wide for everything like that. So those things were kind of structurally built in, which was great. We didn't have to invent the wheel that way. Consistency was a problem, especially for those secondary kids who had teachers with different knowledge in regards to the tech and different ways of managing their classrooms, especially in the early days. There's the bell, see? With some exceptions, we all kind of struggled with the curveball at first, right? Sorry about that. And then after a short amount of time, we started to see as instruction got delivered in those initial weeks of online learning. As a parent, this is my experience, what I saw. Once at home, I did see that there were problems with internet access. There were issues with video and lagging and connectivity and dropping and getting back in, and it definitely was slowing down and interrupting instruction. We also had the unique experience of having Zoom trolls. So our district hadn't locked down the Zooms that they were using to host initially. And so we had all of these people dropping in and it was into our Zooms and trying to get in. And sometimes they would. And just always lock down your Zooms, people. But there's just a difficulty with engaging with the kids, and a difficulty getting them motivated, and a difficulty keeping them engaged, because there's this whole, when you're at home and you have those distractions like your dog and your other things, it's hard to keep on track because you don't have that structured environment. No matter how much you try to create it at home, it's not the same. It's just a minor knockoff of it. So, and then of course I came on board in January and was placed pretty immediately. So I came on pretty much almost at the same time that we started the new term, the new semester. So when the spring online Scrabble had ended and the fall had come back and we did better, as we started in the fall, we had a little bit more continuity. We had a little bit more unity in our approaches and what was expected and our communication. Of course, so these things all improved over time. So we were all online, our secondary classes especially, and nobody had gone back in person, not even little kids yet. And then come March, so a couple months into this, when we teach 25-minute classes to black screens, and it was disheartening and exhausting and slow and riddled with difficulties. But in March, we were ordered that we would be back by April, by April, whatever it was, 9th for elementary or something like that. Anyway, we came back, and the internship shifted from the remote to hybrid and remote. So I was Zooming and rooming the whole time. I was in person for March and for April, May, and June. So 3 months of Zooming and rooming, which is pretty much like juggling chainsaws and kittens at the same time, and never the two shall cross. So, in remote, we struggled with in our classroom, we struggled with getting students to take the learning activity seriously, to engage with that activity when it was being done, so to not procrastinate it and do it later, and to tune out or just log in and then disappear. We had no idea. We had difficulty getting kids to even click buttons to engage. In remote, the fostering the connections between the students was something we found was really not happening. So we had an SEL report where peers were not feeling at all connected to each other. They felt even more isolated than you would expect, right? In person, when we began the hybrid method, getting them to build back those good habits, of doing the work when you're giving them the time to do the work and looking at the assignment and asking the questions in the moment instead of putting it off, because they've gotten in that habit of I'll read it later. And then if they have questions, we already addressed them, but their brain wasn't in it. They weren't engaged. And then, achieving buy-in or engagement, because I feel like once everything did come back, the kids just didn't quite believe it was going to stay. And there was only 40% of students came back in person. So we had A-B hybrid, which, today's the last day. So we had Monday was group A, Tuesday was group B, Wednesday was asynchronous. And at the same time, if you were group B and it was an A day, A was in person, B was on Zoom, C was on Zoom. So it's simultaneously broadcasting. That was some juggling, let me tell you. So it was definitely tricky to deliver instruction that way. The students are definitely kind of exhausted with the technology, with the C cohort, especially because they are on Zoom every day of the week, 50 minutes per class, and it's a really difficult method to learn through. And so that all said, there's unmotivated and difficulty there. I did experience some real successes. We experienced some real successes. We saw some real great growth in connections between peers and respect and confidence. And we achieved that in a couple of ways. So one of the ways is I took 6 kids who I thought were capable. Oh, there goes the second bell. Yeah. I took 6 kids who I thought were capable of doing better based on their interactions that I'd had, and I messaged with them directly in their Canvas emails, and I basically kind of pitched them, this is your grade right now, but this is what it could be with just a little effort, and this is the steps to do that, and if you're interested, I will be more than happy to help you, keep building that checklist so that you can keep checking off the things so that you can reach your goal if that's something you're interested in. And of the 6 students, every single one of them was interested in that. They engaged, they replied. In the first week, the top 5 of those groups, so they were all of C grade or lower. The 5 students who had the higher grades all managed to get their grades up into the A- and A territory by making up work and all that. So that was really impressive. They engaged with me, they interacted with me, they asked questions, they turned in assignments right away. They really, once somebody cared, they cared. And when somebody else was believing in them, they believed in themselves. So the 6th student was NC, but I had interactions with the students, so I knew that they were capable of more. And I found out about some real struggles that they were having, and was able to kind of be that staff member who was cheering for them regardless, believed that they could do it, kind of boosted their self-confidence and their self-belief, and didn't get everything turned in, but did manage to go from a 38% in the class at the midway point to a C- at the end. So we were able to work together, set goals, achieve some of them, and some of them not so much. Learn to prioritize, learn to kind of manage that backup and to avoid it in the future. So that was definitely a high point, and kind of proved some theories for me. Let's see, another high point. We just finished our grades. 85% of our students are A or A-. And that's out of 120 kids. And we only have I think it was 7% of our kids got a D or less. So that was pretty cool. We have, just a handful of B's and one C-. So my students are C-. But so that was really awesome. One of the projects that I did as my thing was to do a creative response, and in that creative response I kind of built in kind of an arc of lessons, and in the process it gave them more chances to view other people's perspectives, interact with one another, give each other positive feedback, and then see the final product of each other's work, and then give feedback on that and do reflection process. And I really saw throughout this entire arc of this unit these students grow, and their eyes kind of open to other people's perspectives and the different way that you can view things. So that was really cool because these are freshmen, so there's a lot of that in general. But I saw their connections as peers develop better. And then I also saw that they when they were coming back in school in person, I was really concerned that I wanted them to feel more connected to their school. So I took a lot of time and I built out these packets of all the feedback that people had about each student's creative response into a Google Doc, and I gave each student theirs. And yes, it took an inordinate amount of time for 120 students to do this, but I did it, and I think it made a difference. And yeah, so that was seeing that they all, like, a lot of them responded to the emails. It's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, I had no idea, like, because it just little bits adds up, but you don't realize it when it's spread out, right? And then the other thing, I had no idea people still give high school teachers like gifts, because I give my kids teachers gifts when they're in elementary school. I had a working mom. This is not something that ever happened when I was growing up, besides like an apple, maybe cupcakes. So, oh my gosh, I've gotten so many cards and so many personal emails or messages. I've gotten flowers and pizza and cookies and candies, like so many thank yous from these students. I don't know if that's normal or not. I haven't asked my mentor teacher, but holy cow, just the connection with these kids, how connected they feel to us. So even the C cohort students, sending in pizza, like goodness gracious. So anyway, that was definitely a win. So while there were a lot of struggles, there's also a lot of, unexpected rewards, and that was awesome. So I enjoyed seeing the confidence and engagement grow for these students, and a lot of them, the longer we were in hybrid, that it didn't shut down, the more they began to believe cautiously that it might not. So I think that also impacted the engagement and the buy-in, so that by the end, we had really built up kind of, we're all in this together kind of thing, even more so than before. So yeah, that was our online experience, and it might have been a little long-winded, but I feel like, yeah, that really does cover all the breadth of it and both sides too. So anyways, I'm excited for this class because I'm a tech nut, and this is, it's fun to see what ways we can build it up. So here we go.